around a lot of people blaming the alleged victim.
She might have won it.
That is just so offensive to me.
Is it possible the victim is telling the truth?
Is it possible that she's not?
Where the hell are the adults in this situation? From time to time, I will say that a show involves sexual content and it is not suitable for teens. Well, I'm telling you today, the show does in fact have sexual content, but instead of excluding your teens, it should be required viewing because it is about bad behavior, social judgment, and how your sons and daughters' lives can be ruined in a single evening. This is a cautionary tale that affects victims, perpetrators, bystanders, and parents. If you pick an hour of television to watch so far this year, it should be this one. Now, this true story is set in Steubenville, Ohio, but it could be any town, USA, any town where high school football is everything. The team Big Red is a big deal, and according to the team's website, Big Red is what is keeping Steubenville on the map. But now some things have happened to bump football from the front pages. Things that I have to say, I have some major problems with. From a psychological point of view, things that no one else seems to be really talking about, but need to be talked about. Now, what started as a typical end-of-summer party for a group of teens wound up a national scandal, with people wondering what happened to the moral compass of those involved. Allegations of rape, ruined reputations, and now a national outcry has a middle America town being compared to the outrage of human rights violations in India, where a gang-raped woman was blamed for her own rape that resulted in thousands of protesters in the streets and an international outcry for justice. A world away, similar protest in Ohio. What allegedly happened that night on August 11th, 2012 will make any parent sick, and the reactions of some even sicker. It turned grim fast when photographs, tweets, and videos began circulating suggesting an unconscious girl had been sexually assaulted while others were present, and that many just sat back and watched. Take a look.
News 9 is following several new developments tonight in the Steubenville rape investigation.
Steubenville, Ohio, rape allegations against two high school football players are casting an ugly and unwelcome shadow over this entire town.
A second Occupy Steubenville rally flooded the area surrounding the Jefferson County Courthouse today. This is all in wake of the ongoing teen rape investigation.
It's a story that has outraged the nation.
Swear I won't forget this, why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless. Sitting up, I'm breathless, anxiety's infectious. I feel so defenseless, betrayed and embarrassed. I hate being open, I hate being broken. I feel like an ocean filled up with emotion. Anger ain't a potion, rub it on like lotion. I can feel it soaking, reopen, the scars have awoken. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go.
Age drinking, alleged rape, popular football players arrested, some calling for more arrests. How will the residents in this small town in Ohio deal with the intense anger, violent threats, and palpable fear this story has laid on their doorstep? On the night of August 11th, 2012, kids in this small town in Steubenville, Ohio gathered for an end-of-summer house party. By all accounts, there was drinking, a lot of drinking. And during the course of the evening, the party moved to other houses, lasting until the early morning hours. Among those at the party were some of the popular football players from the Steubenville High School Mighty Big Red football team. But that evening apparently wasn't all laughter and good times for at least one 16-year-old girl. According to witnesses, the young girl, drunk, vomiting, and barely able to walk, left the party with several boys. Some of those boys say that she was later allegedly sexually assaulted by two boys while she was possibly unconscious. It was through friends and social media that she learned what kind of night she allegedly had. 2 days later, the girl's parents, armed with a flash drive containing photographs found online, Twitter posts, and a video, went to police. Days later, 16-year-old Trent Mays and 16-year-old Malik Richmond were arrested.
Both 16-year-olds right now are charged with rape and kidnapping, but one of those teens is facing an additional charge of illegal use of a minor in nudity-oriented material.
The kidnapping charges against both boys were eventually dropped.
I think we're living in a culture that's producing a warped sense of view from the male perspective.
Accusations of preferential treatment for the football players took this story to a whole other level.
This could very well be a cover-up. I'm not crazy about the police department here. I think it's a very strong possibility they might get away with this.
I think that, everybody was drunk and was just going down with the flow, and she was, afraid to tell her parents the truth.
Steubenville's a fine city. We just want to step forward and let people know that we don't condone it and we have nothing to do with it. Focus on the problem and leave us alone.
Well, we have obtained the court's transcripts from witnesses who were there that night. Now, some allegations include sexual assault in the back seat of a car, touching the alleged victim inappropriately on a basement floor when she was passed out, naked pictures taken on a boy's cell phone. Now, the next day, some Twitter users wrote words like #rape or drunk girl. One even allegedly posted, "Song of the night is definitely Rape Me" by Nirvana. Why would anyone say something like that? Is this funny? Is this sport? Is there absolutely no empathy for the alleged victim, or perhaps she is herself being blamed? Surely not. After all, this is America, not India, right? But this attitude is part of the reason this story caught the attention of a crime blogger, plus a group who calls themselves Anonymous. Take a look.
Greetings, citizens of the world. We are Anonymous.
On December 23rd, internet hacker group Anonymous threatened to release information on the high school players allegedly involved in the incident unless a public apology was made to the alleged victim and her family by January 1st.
We will not sit idly by and watch a group of young men who turn to rape as a game or sport get the pass because of athletic ability and small-town luck. You now have the world looking directly at you.
The deadline passed without an apology. Anonymous then posted online for the world to see a photograph of the alleged victim being carried by two males and a 12-minute video seemingly showing people from the party joking about the alleged assault and the girl's condition.
They raped her quicker than Mike Tyson raped that one girl.
That's not cool, bro. That's like rape. It is rape. Bro. They raped her.
Anonymous also publicly posted a list of the names of other individuals who were allegedly present that night and reportedly saw what happened.
Everyone who witnessed that is just as guilty as the people who did it.
When you start attacking children and putting their names out where everybody can see it and they're in dresses, then I'm coming after you.
Steubenville erupted in protest.
You're a football player, you get to do what you want as long as you got a winning season.
I don't think it's right to indict an entire community over something that happened. Everybody here on this side of the street, we're against rape.
The town is now divided. Some football players are afraid. The school's been locked down. The sheriff has received death threats. Will life in Steubenville ever return to normal? Joining me now is Walter Madison. Now, he is Malik Richmond's attorney. Malik is one of the 16-year-old boys that is accused in this case. Also joining me is Alexandria Goddard, who once lived in Steubenville and now writes about national crime on a blog and investigated this story because she says she had little faith that authorities would do a thorough job. So I'm glad that you two are here. We wanted your client to come here, and you decided to come in his stead. Why did you not want your client to come here and talk about this himself?
Well, you know, Dr. Phil, one of the main things that we want to make clear, clear enough for everyone to understand, there is a courtroom for the discussion that he needs to have.
So your client is being tried as a juvenile?
Correct.
And you're glad of that, right?
We're appreciative of that.
Right. And do you feel like you can get a fair trial in Steubenville, or have you asked for a change of venue?
We've asked for a change of venue. What has happened with social media and the national outrage because of the subject matter, and partly much of that is due to the video that we've now seen has gone viral. Well, first thing, that video has nothing to do with my client. Moreover, that video, as repugnant as it is that individual's form of expression. He's entitled to that.
Well, nobody's questioning his right to post it. What they're questioning is the content of what he posted, and your client did not post that video. There is no question about that. But your client was with this young woman that night, correct?
Well, the video was not made that night, which is another misconception.
No, I'm talking about the night that is being described in the video. Your client was with that young woman that night, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't dispute that?
We don't.
And he was one of the young men holding her hands or feet in that picture that has been posted, correct?
We've acknowledged that from the beginning.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You acknowledged that from the beginning. Now, let me add something else to this mix, and I have a question for you. This is the picture we're talking about. And your client is on the left, correct?
The left of the photo, correct.
Right, on the left of the photo. Now, the video we're talking about, 18-year-old Michael Nodianos became famous when Anonymous reposted a video of him laughing that the girl was dead because she did not awaken from her reportedly unconscious state during the alleged attack. Take a look.
How do you feel on a dead girl?
Are you serious? You want me any foreplay with a dead girl? He's deader than a doornail.
It's considered rape.
She wasn't moving. There's usually a reaction to that.
She was in the middle of the street.
They peed on her. That's how you know she's dead, because someone on her. They raped her quicker than Mike Tyson raped that one girl.
That's not cool, bro. That's like rape. It is rape. Bro. They raped her.
You know, she is deader than Trayvon Martin, though. I know you heard that. She's deader than him.
No, you might go to jail.
It isn't really rape because you don't know if she wanted to or not. She might have wanted to. That might have been her final wish.
I don't think she's dead.
She's dead.
I got a little sister. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. What if it was like...
What happened if that was my little sister?
Right.
It wouldn't be, though, because she's not dead.
Neither is that girl.
She's dead.
In the morning she won't be.
You didn't see how they carried her out.
That is just so offensive to me. I just can't even tell you. That's offensive to you.
Absolutely.
And
It's
he's talking
repugnant.
about your client. How does he know all of this?
We're trying to stand up for the positive people of our town.
Is it possible the victim is telling the truth?
Guess what? Is it possible that she's not?
There's nothing positive if you turn your back on a victim.
He's deader than a doornail.
It's considered rape.
They raped her quicker than Mike Tyson raped that one girl.
How does he know all of this?
He doesn't. He knows that from the tweets and information, and that's his effort at being humorous, I suppose. We don't endorse that, and no one likes rape, okay? That's not what anyone is suggesting, at least on behalf of Malik Richmond, but that young man has no idea. He was provided that information, as was the rest of the town, via tweets, Instagram, so on and so forth, and he wants to be funny.
You started digging, you started looking for other tweets, you started finding things that were out there. What did you piece together?
From their tweets, of course I was not there. I put out the screenshots of what was posted by various individuals who were either aware of what happened or who were there that night.
When you started piecing this together, you found a lot of people actually blaming the alleged victim here.
Yes.
I said there's something here that's bothering me in this situation. I've got a problem with why these young men and women, those that were involved directly in the situation and those who are just pontificating about it that weren't there, why they feel so much permission to be talking about this so openly. Why is it okay in the culture of this community for this party to be going on where witnesses have said in a probable cause hearing that there were at least 40 or 50 kids involved in this in a town of 18,000. That's a pretty big representation of the youth community. They're underage, they're drinking, they're partying, they're driving, they're going from one party to a second party to a third party. Where the hell are the adults in this situation? Why isn't there supervision? Where are the parents of this young girl? Where are the parents of these boys? Where are the supervisors of these parties? What's going on here? Why isn't and why are they why do they feel so safe that they can just talk about this openly? When we come back, 2 football players are going to speak out. We're going to find out why they support the alleged rapist. And understand, and I'm stepping on the term alleged, because it is alleged. Despite what you've heard in the video, that young man wasn't there that night. That young man is not the spokesman for those 2 young men that were there. So, don't paint them with his brush. We want to be careful about that. These are allegations. They've not been proven. So let's keep that in mind. But we're going to find out why they support their teammates when we come back.
Trent and Malik are close friends of mine. There are people making threats, sending hateful things, saying that all the football players need to be lined up and shot in the head.
It feels right now in this community that you're in the middle of a horror movie waiting to be slaughtered.
Mr. Madison, was your client in that photograph?
Well, he is in the photograph, but
he is in the photograph.
You mentioned.
So you're saying he is one of the men holding either her hands or her legs?
Well, let me just explain.
Sure.
In your question to me, you asked seemingly unconscious, and that's correct. The photo is out of context. That young lady is not unconscious. That young lady was capable of walking, and her friends are individuals who indicated that information to the police.
Well, that was Walter Madison talking about this controversial photo. Now, you are asserting that she is not unconscious or incapacitated in that photo. How do you know she wasn't unconscious?
I think there was discussion behind it, and there are witnesses. What the transcript, you indicated that you had a copy of the transcript. There were 3 witnesses selected by the state of Ohio at their election, and those were the 3 that they felt best established their case. There are additional witnesses, some of which are friends with the accuser, and I choose that word versus victim because the victim assumes something has happened. The accuser in this case, and they offer information that allows me to know, and I'm telling you, that that photograph where she's being carried, I would give it location number 2. Location 1 was the infamous party. That's location 2, and then there was a 3rd location. Right. So in between the interim between this photo and location 3, there's a testimony and evidence to suggest that she's talking, interacting, making decisions, and even providing the passcode to her cell phone so that others could get in and unlock her phone.
High school football is a big deal in Steubenville, Ohio. Gino is one of the Big Red senior football players on the team. He says it's like being a celebrity in this town of some 18,000. He's good friends with the 2 accused. He wasn't present at the party where the alleged rape took place, but has his own opinions about what really happened. Let's hear what he has to say.
Around Steubenville, being on the football team is sort of like celebrity status. Trent and Malik are close friends of mine. I would never expect them to do anything like this.
When my son and I did the CNN interview, they asked if he believed that his teammates were guilty.
No, not at all.
And when he said, no, not at all, my heart sank and my guts just cringed because I knew that there would probably be a lot of backlash for him standing up for what he believed in. It feels right now in this community that you're in the middle of a horror movie. It feels like you're just kind of watching your back or waiting to be slaughtered.
I had a couple people tweet me saying that we all together as a football team need to kill ourselves. And there's another threat, which is saying that all the football players need to be lined up and shot in the head.
Threats are scary, but...
No, they're not that scary because I think more than half the people are bluffing.
Gino might say he's not afraid, but he is having nightmares. He keeps dreaming that 4 masked men come in their school and shoot it up. I'm very scared. The chance to be able to talk to Dr. Phil is the only thing that has been positive since all this has started. I want to ask Dr. Phil what he suggests or how we can keep our kids safe again and reunite our community to make it a better place.
Well, another senior Big Red football player, Eddie, is also here, along with attorney Walter Madison and crime blogger Alexandria Goddard. Let me start with you, Jill. What do you think about all this? You're concerned.
I'm really, really worried about our children because they're not safe now in our town. There is so much hate because of all this social media and all this blogging and everything that's happened that they're actually targeting our whole town.
Gina, you support your friends. What do you base that on other than the fact that they're your friends?
I believe that my friends are innocent because, like, that's just out of character for them for something like this to happen. Like, I would never expect anything like that to happen.
Well, but you weren't there.
No, I was not.
So other than just blind support because they're your friends and they're your teammates, and I understand, I played football my entire life and I have the knees, neck, and head to prove it. So I get that. So you really don't know
no, I do not.
What happened. You weren't at the party either?
No, I want to get that
straight. I was not at this party at all. People are saying to me that I was at this party. I was an alleged rapist as well. I just want to get that clear. I am not a rapist. I was not there. I have no knowledge of what happened that night.
So Anonymous, this group
Yes.
that is disclosing information and putting out names and addresses and that sort of thing, said you were at the party?
Yes.
And you were not?
No, I was not.
Well, listen, this is not a Steubenville problem. In fact, everything that I can find out about Steubenville is that this is a pretty nice community with pretty nice folks.
It is.
And a pretty good place to raise a family. It's just, this just happens to be where we're talking about today, but I'm not here to do a hatchet job on Steubenville. I said it's like any town, USA. Part of the problem I get is there just wasn't a sense that people knew what they were doing was wrong. And these tweets that parents didn't look at, let's just take a look at just a few of these tweets that were posted. This Michael Nodiamas that we've talked about, which we invited to come to the show, which I thought he should do, because I frankly don't think what that young man said on that video in that moment and that time reflects who he is. I mean, kids do stupid things, and he was just trying to be funny, and he sounded to me like he maybe was drunk or whatever. I strongly suspect that would not be what he would say or do in a rational moment, and I don't think he should be vilified for the rest of his life for that, as obnoxious as it was. And I would like to have talked to him and tried to give him some help with that, but nobody wants to be accountable these days. One of his tweets was, "Song of the night is definitely Rape Me by Nirvana," but nobody knew what was going on. He says, "Rest in peace to the person that died. You went out doing it big." Trent Mays, "I'm so mad, like I'm going to get in so much so for doing a favor for real." Trent Mays, "Nothing even happened, people. Seriously need to shut up." By other teens, Nody was saying some bangers last night. Like I always say, you don't need much foreplay with a dead girl. It wasn't rape. They were just making love. You know, there just seems to be an absolute disrespect and lack of empathy for this young woman, whatever state she may have been in. Coming up, there are rumors of another alleged rape. We're going to ask the chief of police and the sheriff if there is any truth to that rumor. We'll be right back.
I started following the boys that were accused. They tweeted about a similar incident that happened in April.
You thought it was bad when that girl got raped at Palooza. This is worse. It's a dead body.
So I took it upon myself and I said, I'm going to find this girl. The little girl was 14. And I found her through Facebook, and then I talked to her mom. She had no idea. And it was a very tearful conversation with the mom and me. Hopefully, some justice will be served from this case also.
Well, there have been rumors floating around town that there are other alleged rapes. Now, we actually spoke to one mother who was going to appear on the show, but decided not to at the last minute. But she claims her daughter was raped in April by a group of boys in town. Now, she didn't say who, but she did say that she went to the police. Now, joining us on satellite is Chief of Police Bill McCafferty, who says he knows about this alleged victim. Chief, thank you for joining us. First off, can you tell us what happened to that case?
Thanks, Dr. Phil. Yeah, we were notified on or about Labor Day of this second incident. Being that BCI, High Bureau of Investigation under the Attorney General's office, was already involved in the case we're discussing today, they took over the investigation.
And is that case still open, or has it been closed?
I spoke to the investigator from BCI last week when they were all in town, and it's still being investigated.
Okay, so it is still being investigated. Okay, I want to be sure I heard you right on that. And, you know, we've been talking about what's going on in this community. And before I talk about that generally, in this case, to your knowledge, has this case been adequately and thoroughly investigated, and have the arrests that have been made the appropriate arrests that should have been made?
Yes, I believe so. Dr. Phil, we received most of the evidence that's been put on Twitter, social media, very early in the case. We were aware of this. The officer investigating did an excellent job, and within, I believe, 11 days of the incident, we had 2 arrests. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I can't control that. You know, it's one of the unfortunate things about social media. People can get on there and say whatever they want. But my department's done a thorough investigation. The state of Ohio is prosecuting, and we have an outside judge.
Right. On the phone, we have Jefferson County Sheriff Fred Abdullah, and he has been very outspoken about what has happened in Steubenville. Sheriff, tell me, as far as this case is concerned, is this being prosecuted appropriately, in your opinion?
It most certainly is. I had minimal involvement in this case. The Steubenville Police requested my department to go out into the county where 3 individuals that could be possibly suspects. We had warrants in hand, search warrants in hand, to retrieve 3 cell phones. We did that. We took them directly to the police department. They went to the lab at the Attorney General's office, and on one of the phones there was a picture of the victim. The other thing we were involved in, Steubenville Police requested us to go to a home out in the county where the alleged incident occurred with a crime specialist investigator from the Attorney General's office. Before our prosecutor stepped down the case, and she stepped down from the case because there was rumors her son was involved. That's totally not true. But as soon as her son's name was mentioned, she recused herself from the case. So she brought in prosecutors from the Attorney General's office. So we had an Attorney General representative on board before the request was made from the prosecutor to send a team of attorneys in here to prosecute the case.
Why are they alleging a cover-up on the part of your office?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm sure once this is all resolved in court and they find out there is no cover-up, people will still be upset because there wasn't one.
People know I am all about supporting law enforcement, and let me just be one to step up and say, Sheriff, we thank you for standing in the gap for us citizens every day and putting yourself in harm's way, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
All right. Up next, the former prosecutor says raping a drunk girl makes the perfect crime. She'll tell us why when we come back. Would you have said something to one of these guys if they were crossing the line?
Well, during football season, you know, that's the time you got to crack down. So partying is like, you just can't do that. So yeah, of course, you know, like it was ridiculous.
Yeah. You say during football season.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
What about out of football season?
Well, I mean, it's like, partying in general is like not good, you know, especially underage drinking. There's no positive outcome with that. But
in a probable cause hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong here, a witness stated that they said to one of the young men that is charged, don't do something you're going to regret here.
Yeah.
Somebody tried to say something here.
Dr. Phil, he wouldn't know about that.
Now, I'm not asking that if he knows about it. I'm saying, is that the kind of thing you're saying that you would do if you were there?
Oh, definitely.
Somebody, you would approve somebody saying, don't do that. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's terrible.
Lead them in the right direction, not the wrong. Talk them out of doing something that's going to hurt them for the rest of their life.
I'm not even going to talk. I'll make them not do it, you know. Like, you just, just don't do stuff like that.
Yeah, I got you. But see, I think sometimes I'm worried here, Jill, that, you know, parents, I raised 2 boys, and, you know, I think parents need to sit down with boys and say, look, there are boundaries. Let's discuss the boundaries before you get in a situation where the boundaries can be blurred. And for boys, you have to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. Because if a boy gets in a situation where a girl makes an allegation, they can be very vulnerable to that. So you have to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, and parents need to have those conversations with their young men so they have problem recognition skills. So they understand what crosses a line and what doesn't.
Right.
Well, Robin Sachs is a former prosecutor specializing in sex crimes against children. She says she's not surprised by the uproar in Steubenville, and she has something to say about exactly what you're talking about. What do you want to say about this?
Well, there's a few things. I want to jump out of my chair listening to Gino right now, who says that he would come to the rescue of anybody who is in a similar situation, but yet can make a judgment without even being there that this automatically didn't take place. How can you trust someone like Gino to jump into a situation if he's not going to believe the character of one of his friends that could possibly do it? So I challenge you to really stand behind that.
Well, no, in his defense, he didn't say that. He said, I don't know whether it took place or not. He's saying, I would support my friend whether it took place or not. I would hope it didn't, but I would support my friend because he is my friend. But he said he didn't know whether it took place or not.
That's what I heard.
That's true. He said that he didn't know that it took place, but what he also said was, I know that he couldn't have done it because he didn't have the character to do it. If you look at someone like this girl who was intoxicated, under the influence, whatever you want to look at it, you know that if you're a rapist, who are you going to pick to rape at the party? Are you going to pick the sober one, or are you going to pick the one who's passed out, has poor judgment, who's not going to be believed, who's going to be worried about getting in trouble from her parents? All of these types of things encourage perpetrators to seek out people who are like that and make other people choose to disbelieve.
I am concerned there were opportunities for adults to intervene here, and they did not. There were opportunities for bystanders to intervene, and they did not. There were opportunities for these young men, if they are guilty of what they are accused of, to have recognized boundaries and stopped, and they did not. There were a lot of opportunities here for things to go right that they didn't. And I'm worried about the bystanders here. I'm worried about y'all's buddies. I'm worried about their girlfriends. You know, we always see the signs, this big campaign, friends don't let friends drive drunk. I think we should have another one, friends don't let friends date drunk. We'll be right back.
So you're victimizing my son for speaking out. Okay, he doesn't want to believe that any character of any of his friends are like that. The world's perceiving things in a whole different light than what's really happening here. And now it's making our children, who are innocent, or all of the children, innocent or guilty, it's making everybody unsafe. And it's unfair to me.
But you guys are not letting this being played out in a court of law. You
How
came
are
to
we
Los
not? We're
Angeles.
not the bloggers.
You came to Los
We're
Angeles
not the bloggers.
to make a statement.
Yes, and I feel like I have to make a statement right now, and I will make a statement, because I will stand up for my town, I will stand behind my son, I will stand up for the youth of our town that is being prosecuted. They are having death threats.
No, but I'm
we
talking
have,
about
we
the
have kids in
defendant
our
in this
school
case.
that can't even go to school right now. They can't even go to school right now because our school's on lockdown, and guess what? They're in a corner with tents made out of desks, puking, peeing their pants, not afraid to go back to school. So I don't want to ever, that makes me sick that you say, oh, he said that and I want to jump up. Well, I want to jump up right now, and I want to commend all the good kids that are doing good things for our community. That's what I want to commend.
I think doing good is a great thing. I think that judging the case without having any evidence. Go speak for how great the
because everybody's judging our whole town, and nobody knows anything
I'm talking
except for
about
the
what
court.
your son said
my son wasn't
today.
there. My son wasn't there. He's believing and he's standing up for what he believes in because he wasn't there. He wants to believe that there's good people in this world. He wants to believe there's good people in this world. But guess what? Some people live off negativity and they feed off of it, and some people live off positivity and they feed off of that. And we're trying to stand up for the positive people of our town. So I am so tired of everybody coming down on our town and everybody giving our kids death threats.
Is it possible the victim is telling the truth?
Guess what? Is it possible that she's not?
Yes, and
well,
is it
then
possible
thank you very much.
That
let the justice system do their job and quit feeding into all the other negativity in the world. Live off positivity. Pull people up. Instead of stepping on people at their lowest, pull them up.
You know, you're using the word positivity, and let me tell you, there's nothing positive if you turn your back on a victim.
I agree.
There's nothing positive if you turn your back on a victim. And you can, you can wave the flag of Steubenville or anything else, but if you turn your back on a victim because you want to rally around a friend, you can love a friend without liking everything they do. And I don't know whether those boys are.
That's right. I mean, I agree with that.
And I don't know whether those boys are guilty or whether they're not, but there was enough cause to bring charges against them in juvenile court. And if in fact they did what they did, it's wrong. They need to be accountable for it. You need to hold them accountable for it. The community needs to hold them accountable for it. And if you turn a blind eye to it and say it's easier to just call her a liar, then you've done a disservice to her, to your boys, to the town, to everybody.
I'm not saying that she's being a liar. I am not saying that she's being a liar at all.
I can't find one person in Steubenville that would say, do not hold accountable parties accountable.
Exactly.
I can't find anybody in Steubenville that would say, oh, well, let's just pretend something didn't happen if it did. All right, who holds the most responsibility for this alleged crime? The girls, the boys, the adults? I'll tell you what I think when we come back. And remember, I said alleged. We'll be right back. I said at the beginning of this show that it was going to involve sexual content, but that it was really about judgment, and that I wanted you to record this show and sit down and watch it with your kids. And I'll tell you why. Because I want you to talk to your sons and daughters about this kind of situation before they get into it. I wonder what would happen if this had been a hypothetical show and it had played in this community before this night had happened. If parents had sat with their kids and watched this show before this night happened and said, what would you do in this situation? If you were there and one of your friends was drinking and wanting to go off with some boys, what would you do? What would happen if you were in that situation? And boys, what would you do if you were with some girl and she was intoxicated and she was like really cute and you guys started getting really kind of friendly? Well, you know what? You need to understand boundaries, young men, because you've got standards. You cannot elicit, maintain, or allow a young woman to be incapacitated and take liberties with her. That's not okay. You can't elicit it. You can't give her alcohol. You can't maintain it. You can't just be with her and drink with her. You can't allow it and do things with her. That is your standard as a young man. That's what you must hold yourself to. And the fact that this is a party girl that you're with, that doesn't mean that you get to take liberties. That is not okay. If they don't have the capacity to give informed consent, then anything you do is a violation of rights. It seems to me that there is an absolute unbridled lack of empathy if you label someone in a negative way. If you say, oh, this is a slut, or this is someone that's got a loose reputation. What you do when you label someone that way, when you judge someone that way, is you're focused on the behavior, not the motivation. Girls don't do that because they feel good about themselves. If they don't feel good about themselves, it's because they've not had a good ride through this life. But we judge the behavior. Is that what we want to take away from this? I mean, come on. This is not what this is about. Sit down and have this conversation with your kids. Don't let them be in the middle of a firestorm. And let me assure you, don't paint Steubenville with this brush. This could have happened anywhere. This is a good community. They have churches and schools and projects and Christmas programs and picnics just like everybody else. They got problems just like everybody else. But this is a good community. There's a lot of pride in that community. They have a big football program? Sure. And that's a good thing too. If it wasn't for that, I'd have never gone to college. So don't throw rocks at that. I hope you watch this with your kids. I hope you have a good dialogue about it. Did some kids in this situation make some really bad decisions? Very likely. But let's remember, they were kids. Let's try to fix what happened and remember that all of us have ownership in who these kids become. So let's not try to ruin their lives. Let's try to fix their lives. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you guys for coming here today. Robin, thank you. Thanks for your blogging on this. You really helped open people's eyes to some things. You did a